Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be working on something called quantifying predictability, which means how close is this line of best fit or curve of best fit really going to be to the line? How close are all of those data points in the scatter plot to the line of best fit that we have in? And we've actually dealt with R values earlier in the year, so this might be a nice review for those. But to ensure that your calculator has its R value on, some of them, the older versions, actually just kind of come up with them. For the rest of you, you need to check. You're going to go under Catalog, which is actually your second and the 0 button. And you're going to scroll all the way down until you get to Diagnostic On. And of course I can't spell. You guys all know that though. And then you're just going to make sure that you hit Enter. And then when you go through and do your linear regressions or your quadratic regressions, it should bring up this R value. So in these 4 charts, I want you to go through and it asks you to first enter the information. And if you notice, we're keeping the same X value, so you only have to keep changing your list 2 for your Y value. And we want to know, we want to observe the scatter plot, record the R value, and, for the nearest linear fit to the nearest thousandth. So I want you to take a second to do those, write it down, and then I'm going to come back and check and see. And I'm going to, instead of writing what the scatter plot looked like, I'm going to say, are they very close to a line? Are they not very close? That's what I'm going to write down. So you put that into your calculator and then come back and check. Okay, so for letter A, you get an R value of 0.999, and when you notice, that means your points are very close together, right? So that's what I said here, very close together. For letter B, you have 0.930, and now your points are starting to get a little bit more spread apart, right? They're not as closely grouped together, and that's an okay fit. Then for letter C, you have 0.776, and that's a poor fit. They're now really becoming spread apart. For letter D, you have a correlation of 0.133, because it did ask us to round to the nearest thousandth, and there's almost no fit. These points are so scattered that you can barely tell that there's even any type of relationship there. So how does the correlation coefficient, which is R, quantify the fit of a positive correlation? So the closer to 1, the stronger the correlation, or the straighter the line. I'm going to say scatter plot. Right, those are really, the closer you can get to 1, the closer they're going to be grouped together. All right, for this next one, I'm going to just assume that you know how to enter the data right now and how to get there. So if you want to pause the video to try it yourself. But when we enter this one, now we're going to have negative correlations. So when you take a look at your scatter plot for this set, it's going to be going down. And your R value this time turns out to be negative 0.945. Well, that means that for a negative correlation, your R value is negative. It also would mean that your slope is negative. So I'm going to add that in here.
Trevor Booker, please report to room 218.
Okay, so when you have a negative correlation, but it's still the same idea, here you're going to see that it's an okay fit. They're going to be pretty closely grouped together, but it's going to be a negative line, right? As one value is increasing, the other one is decreasing. All right, let's see what else we have going on here. So given the scatter plot shown below, which of the R values would most likely represent? Well, I can automatically say it's not the negative, because this is certainly a positive correlation. It's not 1, because 1 is only when it's a perfect straight line, like y equals 2x plus 3. So now I have to figure out, well, how closely are they related? Or how closely are they grouped together? And you're going to say this is a 1.88, because you can see they're going up. They're not completely scattered, right? The 0.28 might be something closer to like number 3 down here in this next example. Exercise 5, which of the following scatter plots would have a correlation closest to -1? Well, again, I can get rid of 1 and 3, because those aren't even negative. So closest to -1 means it's going to be coming close together and really forming that, what would look like a straight line. So that's going to be 4. Okay, there are 2 types of crude oil sold in the world: West Texas Intermediate and Brent crude, which is each is priced differently on a daily basis, and each has a correlation with the average price per gallon, right? So you'll hear, actually, Mr. Carlson likes to talk about this a lot, that when gas prices drop, the crude oil prices drop, right? And it actually is the reverse. The crude oil price drops, and then your price of gas per gallon drops. And the opposite of that happens. If the crude oil is increasing, then the gallon of gas is going to increase. So we have these 2 equations. We have 2 different R values here, okay? And they want us to figure out, well, how much is it, first of all, for the WTI, if it's $103, so I'm going to put 103 in for X. So 0.031 times 103 plus 0.67. Your R does not have anything to do with how you go about calculating. It's only going to tell us some information at the end. So when I do that, I get $3.86 a gallon. I did round to the nearest penny. For the Brent crude, they want us to put in 109. So we're going to have 0.028 times 109 plus 0.71. And that's going to give me $3.76 per gallon. They want to know which model would you choose, and it's not necessarily about which one is giving you the lower price, although this one certainly does give you, even though the gallon of crude oil is higher, it still is not giving you it's giving you a lower price. But what I'm looking at is which one has the better R value. The higher the R value, the closer it is, and the better it is going to be at predicting. So I would want to use Brent crude because the R value is higher. Okay, so the higher the R value, the closer it is to 1 or -1, and the -1 is because it's a negative correlation, the better that line is used in predicting what's really going to happen. Because these are all predictions because it's a scatter plot. All right, any questions? As always, bring them to class. Test is on Friday.